we're just getting done with introductions. If there's no more new users, I guess we can go ahead and get into the meat of the call. So, Neil, how's it going, man?
Hey, you're right. Yeah, not bad. Busy week. Busy week.
I imagine
But
it has been. I imagine it has been.
yeah, yeah. It's been exciting though. I mean, so we've been developing an app for asset tracking, and it's a joint venture between me and Rob. We spend a lot of time in voice chat, and one of the first questions we always have to deal with is it's too hard. The users are saying it's too hard to onboard these sensors. There's no real end use cases yet, and we wanted to change that basically. So over the last couple of weeks, we've decided to develop an app for asset tracking on Helium. It's got some killer features. I think everyone can get started with instantly. That's going to be so appealing to folks. And there's some end goals here that we'll talk about afterwards that I think people are going to really like, so they can resell this service to whoever they like, and use the service as if it was their own under a white label brand. So let me share my screen and I'll show you it.
Perfect. And is Rob on the call with us
Rob's
this evening
here
as well?
Yeah,
okay, cool.
I'm here. Apologies for the lack of webcam. Unfortunately, this machine hasn't got one. But yeah, I'm here. I think Neil's going to be driving mostly, and I'm pushing buttons behind the scenes to make the demo happen with some test data and stuff. I didn't want to be out in the real world with a tracker in the dark, so we're simulating it today.
No, that sounds great. It's good to have you. And I got kind of a special secret peek of a little bit of this, so I'm excited for this demonstration. And I guess, Neil, if you just want to take it away and kind of walk us through here.
Sure. So this is React Native, so it works on both iPhone and Android, and there's also web as well that we can do with it. But we wanted to keep it simple, so this uses Amazon Cognito for the login, so it's so simple to use and it's just so quick to get going with.
Can I just preface a few things before we get started in the real cool stuff? That the app is still very much a work in progress. Just a disclaimer, not everything that you see today is fully finished. So you might notice that login screen kind of looks a bit ropey and stuff, right? It's not themed as per the rest of the app and all that kind of stuff. So this is very, very much in the mega alpha stage. We're hoping to kind of progress to beta in a few weeks and get some real users using it. But yeah, this is gonna transform massively and does transform massively day to day. We've been releasing on this probably 2 or 3 times a day, every day, and that it's not a final product, but it should hopefully give a good indication of what it's going to kind of be like. So yeah, if you're kind of looking at it and thinking, oh, this page looks a bit old, or the login screen, it doesn't have the same brand colors as the rest of the app, that's why.
Yeah, we're very quick on, quick turnaround. I mean, our main goal is always to get the data on the screen and then do the cleanup afterwards, get the functionality working and then do the cleanup. So some of these screens are a bit basic at the moment. But the killer thing for this app is that I can add a device with a QR code. That's it. That's all they need to do to get going. That's them onboarded onto the Helium network. So right now, this device is live on the network. For this demo, we're going to use demo data, but they would instantly be able to walk off with a sensor at this point, and it would track them, or they could put it on an object. And just to be clear, we started this demo with these Browan tabs. Now, I really enjoy these tabs because I just put them on my keyring. And if I don't move, they don't check in for 2 hours. But the second I move, they check in every 30 seconds or so. So they've just been absolutely fantastic. They're nice and small, nice and easy to use, but this will work with any LoRaWAN sensor, so any LoRaWAN tracker. I assume the demo's data has probably started to flow already. So this is some demo data that we got coming in. This list is filterable by day. And every location that's on the map, you can click and see how many hotspots have confirmed the sighting of this. So if you click that hotspot name in the list here, it will go through to Explorer, but it shows you how many that's seen it. And over time, as more data builds up, bear with me.
Neil, were the
Yep.
little blue tabs the hotspots in the screen?
No, they're just local landmarks from the.
Okay, down at the bottom. Is that where are the hotspots you're seeing?
Sorry, here on this tab. When I click a location, you see the list there.
Okay.
It will list every hotspot that is heard. There's talk. We're talking about how many. Should an asset tracker here? Do you need to be confirmed by everyone? 200, or will 4 do or 5 do? So at this stage, it will just show everyone because we're just running it on our demo data. So yeah, but as you start moving around, it draws this polyline for where you've been, so you can trace the tracks. So if you go back to a previous day, you can see everywhere it's been in that one period of time, and really trace it with a line, which is really handy to see. The next thing that I'd probably show is that we have geofencing rules in. Now, again, as you said, we've more focused on the development of functions rather than aesthetics at this stage. So we can add these geofencing rules. So what I can do is I can say that for this period, this area, this is a new geofence, and I can give it a name and add a geofencing rule. Now, I'm going to have to skip out of it just for a second, but you can see there already the geofence exists. Now, the aim of this is that you can be alerted when someone enters or exits a geofencing area as well. So this is all native to the app, and you could be doing this within minutes with just buying a sensor, which is just crazy to me. I mean, before it was such a kerfuffle to get this going. Even for us with some of the trackers we've tested, it took us 4 revisions of decoders before we got it perfect. Now, expecting an end user to be able to go and buy a tab or any tracker and putting this onto console and then having to develop the dashboard is, a long process. But this is just scan a QR code, set some rules, and get going. And as you can see, as they move around it, it fills in the polyline. So you can see it there. It's so quick. And I mean, one of the first things I wanted to do with it is just go out and have a walk with it. And to be able to walk around and see these polylines and then, be able to trace back previous days to see this information is fantastic. And as you can see with some of the demo data here, it's confirmed by 3 hotspots. So you can see these hotspots and what RSSI they've been received at. So I think one of the interesting facts about this is it's not just GPS, right? It's blockchain confirmed locations. So these hotspots are confirming it to the blockchain in real time that they've been in that location. So it's more than just GPS tracking. It's confirmed in the wild more than any system is previously. So yeah, and that's basically it so far. I think the next stages we're talking about is launching this in alpha to get some feedback. We'd love to hear how you'd want to use this, what you'd want to use it for, what information's missing, what's critical for you, and just get going. Really, it's been a fun couple of weeks getting it going, but yeah, I think we're almost ready to launch this thing.
Can I be a real pain, Neil? Can we rewind? I'm going to remove your allocation for this device out of the database. Can we just go over the onboarding again? So I think that's the real key feature of this is how easy it is to get started. And I don't know if for everybody else, whether when Neil demoed that, it went pretty quick. So
that's how quick it is.
Yeah. maybe let's just slow it down a little bit. There's a little bit of refresh time on the screen. So basically, normally when you buy one of these trackers, right, the hardware vendors are really, really good at sending a piece of hardware and the keys to onboard it to the network. And you're totally on the hook for logging into the console, paying for the data credits, building the decoder, building an integration to either MQTT or HTTP integration. Sometimes with some of the manufacturers, the decoders don't work out the box. I know we've had to tweak a couple because there's been bugs, or they've been built for TTN, which use a slightly different payload, for example. So with this, when you buy the tracker, when you purchase it through our store, basically what you'll receive is the box with the tracker in. you'll still get your keys. So if you want to go and do your advanced stuff, once you kind of got used to it, you can go and onboard it yourself. But in the box, there is literally a QR code saying, hey, go download this app. And you literally scan the QR code and you're onboarded. You haven't got to worry about DC credits. You haven't got to worry about configuring anything. It's literally a case of just using your phone like you normally would.
Do I add it again? Is it clear for me to do that, or?
Yeah, go for it. Let's.
Yeah, so it's so quick. I have to be careful. So literally, that's it. That's now live to go. So for end users that have previously done this, they'll spend a good 2 hours, 3 hours trying to work out what they need to do, and to go from that to this is what Helium needs, really, isn't it? Services that build on top of what Helium are providing and make it easy for the end user. Now, eventually, in this process would be a sign up for the service. We're talking about offering some service for free at the start of that contract. You get some time to test it and then buy a subscription. But, beyond just putting some credit card details in, it's that simple to get going with asset tracking on Helium.
So I've got to ask you, Neil, what is Helium enthusiast mode?
Well, we're talking about changing some of the looks. So, for example, if you're just interested in asset tracking, you don't care if hotspots hear you, right? But if you are a Helium enthusiast, you might want to check in a location to see how much coverage it's got, right? So in that mode, we would show you the witness lines, show you what hotspots and everything on the map. So there's one mode for asset tracking, and then there's Helium enthusiast mode, which will let you delve into the details of the data. Eventually, that could be things like, is the RSSI legitimate for where it is? What kind of quality is that hotspot? And that's what we're calling Helium enthusiast. We wanted to make the difference so that people can just get on with asset tracking. But for those that are really, really into the network, they can have all of that data.
Yeah, the other feature of the Helium enthusiast mode is it passes through data to the mapping or mappers.helium.com. So by having your asset tracker running, you can also contribute to the mapping of the network. Obviously, that's not something that everybody is going to be interested in contributing to. So hence we have that disable checkbox. But yeah, if you're into the network, then of course you're going to want to contribute to the mapping as well.
Yeah, and it's just been really fun to use. I mean, we've demoed it out to a few people so far, and I think a few of them, the first thing they did was took it outside and run around the block just to see the line generate. It's just nice to see, and being able to filter this by day and knowing that your asset has moved this amount of time or been in these places is just fantastic to know. I mean, I track my keys with it, as bad as that is. But the device itself has been live for 3 weeks. One of these little tabs has been live for 3 weeks. And it's just unbelievable how good this is. I mean, I've had this on my desk in brick buildings and it's being picked up by 15 hotspots. So, the quality of these things is crazy. And obviously Helium did this before, but I have a feeling that the network was too small to realize it, But now for businesses in, say, for example, the center of London or Toronto or New York or San Francisco, coverage is perfect for them, So if they're doing local deliveries or they want to track assets, this system's ready for them. So we wanted to make the app to let them be able to do that.
Neil, does that do a low battery alert?
Yes, the plan is to put a low battery alert, and you can set that per device as well. So you would get an alert, a push notification. The same for geofences. When you exit or enter a geofence, you would get an alert that has happened.
So I guess we can chat a little bit about roadmap briefly. So the app, as you see it today, you can kind of configure the geofences and stuff. We don't have push notifications functioning yet. That's in progress at the moment. The intention is to have push notifications when you leave or enter a geofenced area, and also on low battery and some other conditions. Some trackers, for example, allow you to send downlinks to vibrate them or set off a little alarm. So on a case-by-case basis, we would look to implement those features as well. There's also a whole load of user interface cleanup that we need to do. You know, we want to get rid of that marker that you see on the map today and actually have a little icon in there which you can set in the settings to the device. You know, kind of add a little bit of personality. So if you have a whole bunch of devices, you know, you can just tell what's your dog, what's your car, but you know, that kind of stuff. Just having a look at the questions here. So when we send data for the mappers in enthusiast mode, do we anonymize the device ID? So at the moment, you can name your device in here. So our initial plan was to send the name of the device that you set within the app. However, obviously that's not necessarily for everybody, right? Some people may want to be anonymized. I guess if that is a deal breaker between whether somebody wants to contribute to the map or not, then we could have some override where you can say, hey, you know, I want it to appear as this name or whatever when it sends mapping data. I don't see any issue with that. It's just extra text box, right? So I'll be curious to know the use case there. Is it just about anonymity for when you're contributing to mappers, or is that the thinking?
Related to the photo option for the icon, that could be done. That's definitely a feature we could do. Like we say, the icons are going to change to whatever you want to set them to. And yeah, I think a picture's a good idea as well. And the great thing about this system is it works with any tracker as well. So, you know, depending on the object, if you're tracking, for example, a shipping container, we can put a tracker on there with a huge battery, even a solar panel. But we're going to go live with these tabs. We really like them and think they're ready. From our testing, they've been fantastic. But yeah, this works with any tracker.
Neil and Rob, how would it work? Let's say I have 3 employees and I give each of them one, and I want them to be able to do this, but I want to see all of their movements on my phone. How does that work?
Sure. I think at this stage you would have to share an account, right? But in the future, we foresee a web interface for management, right? This app is good if you want to track a few objects, right? Maybe your bag, your keys. But if you're a business managing this, you're going to need a web interface, a user interface to manage all the devices. And that kind of side of things is where we see, you know, you being able to white label it. So, you know, you could sell the services to the business and then manage their assets and give them a nice dashboard for it. In the dashboard, for example, we foresee it that you can assign a tracker to an object or a person. So that person would hold the object history based on that tracker that was assigned for them for that time period. So you could do these business kind of things on the web interface. It's not a place for an app, but I think this is ready to go for the odd user that wants to track their keys and move it onto something else.
Yeah, I think to add to what you said, you know, the concept behind the app was to get people using Helium for a real IoT use case, but also enable consumers to kind of consume Helium en masse. And it was very much focused around the individual consumer who's tracking, you know, a bag or a particular asset. Long term with the enterprise offering, we've had quite a lot of discussion about that. And really, there's so much that you can do with the more enterprise tracking stuff that it's really hard to know where to focus efforts. So if you have particular features that you're looking for, then we'd love to hear from you. But you know, some of the stuff that we've been discussing is, you know, if you've got a local courier firm, do you want to have like predictive routing? Do we want to look at traffic patterns and work out, you know, is it better for a particular route to drive it, you know, an hour earlier, for example? Can you then complete it in half an hour's less time just because of the traffic at the time? You know, do we want to do KPI tracking for individuals? You know, how many drops they're doing, that kind of stuff. So there's a whole bunch of stuff with that multi-tenanted enterprise system that we're trying to build a product backlog and feature list for. But it's a totally different beast from this app. Our main priority for now is get the app out, get people consuming it, get people excited, and then we can double down on the feature set for the enterprise offering over the next you know, few months.
Neil?
Hey.
Have you guys sort of linking two devices? So a tracker with, as an example, a temperature sensor. Let's say you have a temperature sensor on a cold storage truck, and you want to know what the temperature is for that device on that truck.
Yeah, that could definitely be done. I mean, the thing is we're defining a device and what fields we generate from that device in our back end. So if we wanted to say one's got, you know, a temperature reading and then set an alert based on the temperature reading, we could do that. It's just, again, like we've been talking to so many people. We wanted to open the alpha to let people test this and give us some feedback. Where do you want to develop it? Where is it best that we focus our effort on? We've had people talk to us that want to track trailers. We talked to people that want to track people. Cars was another one. So it's really interesting to see these use cases come out to find out what they need. And like you say, cold storage is just adding a temperature field and some alerting, right?
Thanks.
Access to the apps. This is a good one. So in the alpha phase, which we're entering into now, or very shortly, the app will be for selected invitees who anybody can apply through a form that we'll send out later on. Anybody can apply, but we'll hand select people based on region, their experience with LoRa and the Helium network, what their use case is, and a whole bunch of other criteria to make sure we have a good mix of users in the alpha phase. During the alpha phase, it will only be available to users of Android, unfortunately, and it won't be on the App Store. You'll need to go and install the APK yourself on your phone, which is a little bit ugly, but it is what it is. During the beta phase, then we're going to move to having it available on the Apple App Store and also on the Play Store. Whether we'll target any other stores is yet to be decided. Maybe we will, maybe we won't, depends on the need. In that stage, then anybody will be able to sign up. Obviously, there'll be the caveat of that it is still in beta, so there may be a few bugs or a few unknown things, or we may still be developing new features. And then when it goes to production, then obviously, you know, it'll be kind of generally available for everybody. The no iPhone comment, I think it's going to be very, very short-lived, the alpha phase, but I think we're talking weeks rather than months. And when we get to the beta phase, then you know, it will be available on iPhone and it will be available through the app stores.
Yeah, and we've already had users beta testing it on iPhone. APE, for example, has had a go at it, and it does run on iPhone. We run it on our Macs ourselves, so we've been testing on it. It works just as well. That's the beauty of React Native. We build once for both devices. We're not building an iPhone or an Android app here. We're just building a React Native app, which just makes things so much quicker. I'm going to drop a link in the chat to the alpha registration form. So feel free to sign up and just give us some information, and we'll see what we can help you with, basically.
The question about how many different devices do we offer? So initially, we're going to be just supplying the BFGNeil tabs during the alpha phase. When you are selected for that, we'll ship you a tab for the purposes of testing the application. When we launch, the anticipation is that the BFGNeil will be kind of our more low-end tracker. Pricing wise, we're looking at £50 or $70 for the tracker, which will include a period of free usage of the app and the service. After that free period, we're looking at a subscription of maybe $2.50, which is about £1.75 per month. Or if you want to do an annual commitment, obviously we'll have some price reduction on that. The BFGNeil tab is obviously very lightweight. It comes at the cost of maybe not having as good battery life as some of the bigger trackers, but you know, you can attach it to a bag or a suitcase, or it's very easy to attach to your dog's collar or something. Not that the IP rating is very good for a dog, but we'll get onto that in a minute. But then we're also looking at some more industrial trackers, which are more rugged. They have bigger batteries. They obviously come at a higher cost, but they're great for putting on your truck or on a container or whatever you want to track. And then we're also looking at other devices, things like stuff that is IP rated, which may be more suitable for pets. There may be trackers that we use which have additional features built in, things like temperature monitoring, or it could have door contact monitoring, for example. You might want to track the location, but also has the seal been broken on the door of a van. Those sorts of things. They'll be on a kind of a device by device basis, and they'll be added to the store as we grow the app. But yeah, initially the Bro1 tabs, and then growing from there.
To Cyber Zombie, he wanted me to hold one up to camera. I mean, this fits on my key ring, it fits in my pocket. What I really like about it is I've had this running for about 3 weeks now, and it just sits on my keys. So everywhere I go, I map. Everywhere I go, the location is tracked. So I'm contributing so much more, and to get a push notification that it's running out of battery, rather than having to stumble around, find a mapper, make sure it's got battery, make sure it joins all right, make sure all the settings are right to then get going. This just means that the second you move, you're mapping on the Helium network, and tracking an asset. So we could do that for everything.
Nice.
And it has a
Nice.
button
I like
on
the
it as
form
well,
factor,
right?
and yeah, everything's good about it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So there's a button. I don't know if I'm pointing out to the camera right, but there's a button here to press it. Whenever you press it, it checks in, and there's just a little USB-C charger on the side, so you can charge it up within a few hours and then just get going with it. And so far, like I say, this has lasted about 3 weeks for me. So it just tracks my view to work and back every day. So absolutely fantastic. It's small enough to go in your pocket. I mean, you could get away with it on a dog collar. It need to be a big dog. You wouldn't want to put it on a little one, but that's something we're interested in the future, is that we can produce a device for these use cases as well. We just wanted to get going with something that's off the shelf that anyone can use really easily, and yeah, start tracking.
Nice. The form factor is good. It's very good. So you said 3 weeks with that charge?
To be fair, I leave the house 3 times a day, one to go to work, one to come back from work, and one to walk the dog. So for 3 weeks, that has tracked every movement I've done. If you're going to be moving in the car all the time, then it's going to take up a lot more battery. But for general wear and tear, having something the last 3 weeks is better than any mapper I've ever had before. Apart from the Glamos, this is probably the only one with a long battery life. But, the Dragino, for example, runs out in a couple of hours. That's not good. I want to track everything. So these tabs have been fantastic for us. Someone asked earlier, do they work indoors? I mean, when they arrive, they come in a sleep mode, hold the button for 10 seconds, and then it just instantly started transferring packets. So there was no wait, there was no setup, there was no GPS lock. It just worked straight away out of the box, which was really good for us. So we're keen to get going with these devices.
Yeah, to comment more on the battery life, obviously, it depends how much you move the device. It triggers based on movement. So I would echo what Neil has kind of said. When I've got mine sat in my car here and I just do the usual day-to-day activities, I normally get about a week and a half to 2 weeks out of it. I was on PTO last week and I did a lot of traveling, and it lasted for 4 days, and then I had to charge it up, and then it's still on the battery from that charge now. My father tracks his RV with it. He has that in a storage location, and he just wanted to get notified if it leaves that storage location, because he doesn't want to go down there and check it physically all the time. He's had his in there for coming up for 5 weeks now, and it's still got about 40% battery left. When they aren't moving, they check in 4 times a day every 6 hours, just to say, hey, I'm still here, and this is what my battery percentage is. But when you're doing those check-ins just 4 times a day, if you have a static asset that you just want to keep an eye on, you get over a month on one charge.
And I mean, we see these Bro1 tappers, object locators, as just personal devices. If you're logging a car, eventually we would move up to a bigger device that could plug in. The battery life could last for months and years. In some use cases, we can put solar panels on them, and you know, if they're not moving, they'll check in every few hours, so they'll actually gain battery. They'll last quite a long while. So just depends on the use case. One thing we didn't want to do was just limit ourselves to one device. We want to accept everything. So if you have a particular tracker that you really like, this system will do it. And just to answer St. Olaf's question, yes, we fully onboard these devices. So they're all on our console account. And then all you do is you claim the device with a QR code. So that's why it's so quick. We've done all the hard work for you. We manage data, we manage the integrations, we manage the functions. You just use it. And it's just been so much fun. And it's been fun talking to people about what they want to use it for, and seeing people use it.
Yeah, in relation to that, one of the questions I had the other day was what happens when, you know, for example, this application, if it died out for whatever reason, which we don't anticipate, right? We're very, very keen on it, and we hope that it stays for the long haul. But one of the questions was, what happens if this app doesn't work out and you have my device onboarded and you're the owner of the keys, and what can I do about that? So I just wanted to clarify that when we ship a device, you will receive a copy of the keys, and within the app, you'll be able to release the device. We've got API calls that go back into the Helium console. So if you really wanted to, you could come into the app and say, hey, release the device, and we'd release it out to you, and you'd better reclaim it on your own console account. What we haven't considered yet is how you then re-onboard that device back into the app if you want to start consuming the app again. For now, that would have to be a support ticket, but certainly we don't want to tie anybody down. If you want to go use it in the console yourself, or if you outgrow our solution, or you want to move the tracker to a different solution, we don't want to, you know, tie people in as a result. So yeah, you're right. It comes pre-onboarded. You haven't got to wait for it to enter into the XOR filter or anything like that. It's ready to go, but you also get the freedom to move it onto your own solution if you like.
Is there plans or a mechanism for me to add? What if I already have it, one of those tabs devices? Is there any plans for me to be able to somehow?
Yep. So that's what we're doing on the alpha at the moment, is we're allowing people to sign up, and we just need one field, one ID field from the console account for the device. And then you set up the integration to point to our endpoint. So you can choose to manage data yourself right now, and that's how we're doing the alpha. For some future plans, we're going to manage the data devices as well. But if you wanted to get going to test it with any tracker that you've got right now, you would just set up an integration. And it's just a case of setting the name and just giving us the ID, and then you can claim it on the app. It's just that quick.
It's so easy.
Yeah, it's quick and it's fun.
Yeah, the main focus is, you know, like I said, getting the mass market to be able to consume it without any technical knowledge. But if you're technical and you already have devices and you want to come play with it, like, just send us, well, fill out the form, put in the comments box that you already have a device and you're ready to go, and we'll reach out to you and we can get it onboarded like super quick. If anything, that's kind of beneficial. I mean, we're happy to ship devices to alpha testers, but you know, if you've already got one ready to go, then that speeds up we haven't even got to wait for delivery time. So yeah, the more feedback we get, the better.
Yeah, the app works with anything. So I've tested it with a Glamos. I think there's Cube cells on it. There's Browan devices. It will work with any LoRa sensor. We just have to set that device type up in the back end. So you can use any sensor here, and you can choose to manage the data if you want to as well. So yeah,
we have this abstraction for device type, which gives you attributes which are specific to the device. So for example, some have altitude, some don't. Some have other things on board like temperature, some don't. By default, when we onboard a device that we don't know about, we just call it DIY, and we just assume that it has latitude and longitude, and a battery percentage. But yeah, if you have a particular device that you want to onboard that has additional features, then send us an example of the payload, and we can create like a device type within our database, and you can start consuming it.
Yeah, this Browband device is just activated by movement, so it's got an accelerometer in it. So the second you move, it will just start working and start checking in at a faster rate. And like I said, you can force it with a button press as well. So if you want to make sure you've mapped a hex, you can just click it and it maps in as well. So and in reference to Leo's comment, yeah, one of the things that we found about LoRaWAN trackers at the moment is they seem to be tied to the US. We want to make sure this thing is available everywhere, right? This is a global network. There's no reason why you couldn't buy the tracker locally, or we have a seller locally to you to be able to provide it. So we want to see mappers increase. What is one of our big aims in the background is the use of mappers increasing on the network is fantastic. You know, actually putting the coverage out. So these devices checking into mappers automatically fills out that map whilst you get all the benefits of asset tracking. So it's killing two birds with one stone.
Currently, if accepted onto the alpha program, as an example, could I use one of my T-beams?
Yep, anything, any device, literally. We've tested it with quite a few now, so cool. There's not a problem accepting anything.
What's the name? Do you guys have a name for this?
No, we don't have a name for it. Do you know how difficult it is to find a name for this? I mean, every word for asset or location or find location is used. So we've got a few in development, but we just weren't sure. So we'd rather show it off without a name than, you know, it's so difficult. It's so difficult.
How about you, a unnamed asset?
Unnamed asset, yeah.
AP keeps saying it should just be find my insert exclusive here.com. But we're not sure about how well the market would deal with that.